Z Soccer's YouTube channel. If you want to join the football family, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you download the app, you'll get all the breaking news at your fingertips. And of course, all that news is also on our website. And if you want to stay up to date with football news north and south of the border, across Europe and globally, then don't forget, on our social media you can follow us and keep right up to date. I'm delighted on the football show, as we get ever closer to the start of the season, to introduce one of our new signings. You have to just freshen the team up, and I just thought maybe I was getting a wee bit slower, so we'd add a wee bit of quality to the midfield, Tam.
A bit younger than Ruffy as well.
Well, I was just about to say, it's like a Hibs get together here. Scott, Allan, welcome along to the football show. Really looking forward to your input, and of course, I had a wee look at your clubs. You've had a few, not quite as many as him, but Celtic Hearts.
Celtic Hearts, yeah. I think I met Michael Tidser on my B licence again. Played against him when I was young, and we kind of hit it off. We've got the same kind of ideas with football, and it gives me an opportunity to still play first and foremost, and a step into the coaching world as well.
Yeah, was the coaching thing the important thing that maybe swayed you more?
Yeah, and obviously knowing someone and obviously the style of football we're wanting to bring there. So with people with the same kind of trainer thought, and a chance for me to gain experience on the training part in terms of the coaching side of things.
Yeah, it made you feel old, Tam, when I can remember Michael as a youngster at Morton.
Yeah, that's right. I played against Michael when he was younger. Obviously watching Scott as well. Obviously coming to the tail end of their career, but that'll be a great experience for Scott to go to Celtic Hearts. You know, first team football. You know, going and coaching people. It'll be an eye opener. You know, part time. You know, people coming for their work, coming to train as well. So it'll be a great grounding for Scott and great experience for him. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, in a division that I'm sure there'll be a few people will want to close you down that wee bit quicker and want to have a wee test of your nerve.
Yeah, I think that just goes with the territory, to be fair, so I just need to move it a bit quicker. Maybe not as quick as I was maybe 5-6 years ago, but listen, I'm actually really looking forward to it. Yeah,
there's a fair few managers though that you'll be able to take something from. I mean, the amount of people, I mean, you met Big Ek in Germany because you'd gone for a pint, but you met Big Ek in Germany. It's good to stay in touch with people over the years who can maybe give you that little bit of help and advice.
Yeah, well, I even think back to when I first signed for West Brom from Dundee United. It was actually Dan Ashworth, who's now at Manchester United. He was a guy I went and met between him and Roy Hodgson. I remember at the time showing me videos of some of the footage that I would never have kind of seen here at that time, and how to receive the 1 foot and the type of passes I was playing. So that was at that stage, meeting somebody like Dan Ashworth, who had done a really good job at West Brom. He kind of opened my eyes to the things that they were looking at down south. So between him and Roy Hodgson at a very young age, it's guys I still kind of keep in touch with. Maybe not Roy so much, but I have bumped into him at games over the years, and a lot of a wealth of experience. And then guys like Neil Lennon, Brendan Rodgers, who I've got a really good relationship with, Jack Ross, there's a wealth of experience here.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to see how you develop as a coach, and whether you're going to try and play the football purist game, or whether you're going to go through that huge learning curve with the players that you have at your disposal. You're going to have to play a different way.
Obviously, that's the manager's job. I've just had my wee input, obviously, in terms of playing, because I'll still play the way that I play and try and help people around about me. I think that's the one thing I'm really excited about Celtic. We've got a lot of young players who have maybe not made it, say teams like Hearts, and have stepped away and want to go and create an environment for the Celtic to push on again. I think that's the bit I'm really looking forward to, the younger players, who you can maybe just give the wee bits of a knowledge where it can maybe take them to the next level again.
Yeah, we've been out there. We did a documentary on Barry when he was the manager. It's a great little park, great setup. So, you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, it all goes well for you. You've got lots to talk about in football. Of course, you know the top division very well as well, and this is the period of time where clubs want to try and bring in players, say goodbye to a few legends along the way, and then build for the future. We'll get Scott's the great thing about you coming on a Wednesday. Everybody who joins the team has to give their predictions 1 to 12, and then as the season progresses, you get battered for it. Which sums
That's
it
very early right enough, because it's obviously still 4 weeks to go in the transfer window, so it could all change in terms of people coming in, but you've got to kind of go with it and stick with it at the start, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll look at the fixture shortly. We'll look at individual teams. Give us your thoughts on your favourite team, your favourite players, and how you think things are looking ahead of the start of the season. Rangers look as if they're set to announce the signing of centre-half Robin Proper from 20 Enschede. We had a chat with Michael Statham. He's a football journalist who works for Oranje. And we got his assessment of the man who could be coming in as a centre-half at Rangers.
Robin Proper is a centre-back that I find solid, unspectacular, but I think that's what Rangers are looking for, an experienced leader that can defend really well. He's a leader in the sense that he's not a quiet leader. He will talk, or he will speak up if he doesn't believe something's right. He's played in the Netherlands his whole career. He's obviously looking for a move now at the age of 30 where he can go abroad, make some money, of course, at a different club, play in Europe.
Yeah, interesting. Connor Golson out the door. Philippe Clement was obviously going to have to look and say, right, he's gone. Now we have to look for something else.
Yeah, Rangers obviously need to replace that experience, and I think Connor Golson hardly missed a game last year up until the tail end of the season. So, but like the reporter said there, he's never left the Netherlands. It's a big ask to come straight into the environment that Glasgow is with Rangers and Celtic, and to hit the ground running. So it'll be a real test of him very early on at Rangers. Yeah,
absolutely. If you want to see more from Michael Statham, he was talking to Patrick Mullen. It's on our YouTube channel. It gives you an insight into not only the potential signing of Robin Proper, but Sam Lammers as well, who's looking as if he is going back to Dutch football. Utrecht were the club that he was out on loan to. So you can get a little insight into him as well, and that move away from Rangers. But that's 9 players either coming back from or staying on from a loan deal that Rangers have signed. One of them that I don't think will be joining them unless they stump up a fair bit of money is Lawrence Shankland. It's a name that never goes away, Tam. And it's also, I don't buy into the story that he's been linked with Celtic. I think that's just a nonsense story that I read this morning. There are some stories where you usually just flick the papers or flick your screen on the computer and go, rubbish, nonsense. And Shankland, for me, is one of those guys that Hearts want to cash in on. I just can't see anybody in Scotland stumping up the sort of money they're looking for.
No, I don't think that Philippe Clement fancies him as a player. I think that if he was to go to Rangers, I think it would be a board decision, Peter. I think that he doesn't fit the profile that Clement's wanting. He wants athletic players, quick players. In that forward area, you look at most of the players he signed. They're athletic, they're quick. The outlay for a guy at 29 years old as well. I don't think that Rangers are going to pay $3 million for him. They can possibly get him for nothing, and they can get him for nothing at the end of the season, but can get him on a pre-contract in January. So I don't think that's a non-start. I don't think Hearts would take £1 million for him or $1.5 million. If he scores goals this season, if they win a couple of games in the Conference League, possibly the Europa League, I think they've got a playoff game. That's £1 million. So I think Lawrence Shankland will stay at Hearts. I think he'll stay at Hearts this season. I don't think anyone will buy him this window on January, and I think that Lawrence will take his chances as a free agent at the end of the season. I think if he scores another 20-25 goals for Hearts, come at the end of the season, he is in a very, very strong position to go and take his pick where he wants to go and get his one big move that he's probably earned.
Yeah, to be fair to Hearts though, Scott, they've really pushed the boat out with his weekly wage, his bonuses and everything that they're trying to do to lure him into a 2 or 3 year deal.
Yeah, I think when you get a goal scorer like that, they aren't easy to find, and you can see that throughout the league. I think Hibs are still searching for that. They've paid money here, there, and everywhere from players from different nationalities. But Lawrence Shankland, he is guaranteeing you goals in the SPFL last year. Outstanding, some of the finishes. I agree with Tam. I don't think Phil Clement wants him. I don't think he's his probably profile of player. But I think if you asked a lot of Rangers fans, taking a goal scorer in, sometimes it's worth paying that money, but when it's the manager's decision, you're up against it. Yeah, and no disrespect to Lawrence, who I think his record stands up with the best of them in Scottish football, but having looked at him, and it's almost like a Chris Boyd for me.
Chris, when he was playing in Scotland, could score goals for fun, but Walter Smith never picked him in Champions League games because that level up again, that movement that you need as a player to score at that level, he didn't quite have it. And I don't think Lawrence would offer that movement that they require at that level.
Well, I think comparing it to Chris Boyd under Walter, Rangers and that team were not a possession-based side in Europe. They played behind the ball and they needed pace, like your loving Cranzies who could maybe get you up the pitch at that time. I think he's a lot more mobile than people think he is. I think at Hearts he's asked to be that target man. Does the ball stick when it goes into him? When you play with a player, especially myself, and you know you can play, you can dink it, he can hold guys off. He can do all that and bring guys into the box. But the way Rangers have played for the last 5 seasons, it's been crosses into the box deliveries. And Lawrence Shankland, that's where he's most deadly, in the box, getting on end of day crosses. And Rangers haven't converted them of late.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, Tam. I don't think they're going to stump up the cash. And here is why. Rangers have got a situation where, and this is the evidence coming from the chairman, not from anywhere else. John Bennett has tried to be transparent with the Rangers fans and just basically came out and said, look, here's the predicament. Whether you like it or not, it's a difficult situation with the Copeland Road stand. It has to get fixed. It has to be in working order and safe. And obviously the steel, whether it's delayed or it's on one ship or the other, they're going to have to move to Hampden. So there's your first situation. He's explained the money that they've had to pay out in loans and, of course, in transfer fees that they owe clubs. So it's tight. There's not a lot of money there for Rangers, and he's got to use his money wisely.
Yeah, he has. And they're not going to pay £3 million for a player they can get for nothing at the end of the season. That's just a no-brainer. They're not going to do that. And Hearts are not going to accept 1 million, 1.5. So that's your predicament, Peter. He's not going to leave Hearts for me, Lawrence. And Rangers, as John Bennett said in his interview on Rangers TV, they're still due a lot of money out in outstanding fees to players that are at the club from last season, from the season before. They've still got money to pay. They're paying out money, obviously, for Hampden as well. So you're right. There's not a lot of money swirling about. That was why winning the league last season, was huge for Rangers to get that guaranteed. That money, 50. That money, they didn't get that, and now they're behind the 8 ball in terms of Celtic as well, chasing them financially. So I think Lawrence Shankland will stay at Hearts for the whole season, and I don't think that Hearts will accept any kind of derisory bids for him.
Yeah, as far as Rangers are concerned, when you read into what the chairman had to say, apart from obviously that inconvenience and a real blow to them having to move to Hampden and all the costs that they incur there, you have a chairman trying to convince the support of the need to change to a longer term strategy. Now, whether that is in backing the manager, but also changing the structure and the strategy of signing players, Scott, because, this whole try and sign them to win the league because you've got to try and wrestle the title off Celtic, the strategy has to be almost copying what Celtic are doing, which is you've got to sign players, some of them you're taking a chance on, but they're long term to be sold on.
Yeah, but I think the difference in both clubs is the ones that sold out, they've been better players. They've handled the pressure better than the projects as such that Rangers are brought in. I think, if I was asked both of you just now, do you think Rangers coming to this league opener at the weekend have a stronger squad than they finished the season? I don't think you could say they are. A lot of it is the unknown. We don't know what these players are going to be like. There's players who've been signed who are going to be part of the B team. So for me, looking at the squad, I don't think Rangers are in a stronger position than they were squad-wise and depth-wise and options off the bench than they were come the end of last season. Yeah,
it's going to be a real test as well because, as you guys know, the biggest problem we have, and it's a change that we've witnessed in this show over 10, 11 years, is quite simply, you get a manager, he's going to get time. Suddenly we've changed in the last 2 or 3 years to, he's had 4 games, he could be out.
Well, that's what I say every week about the Hibs manager. That's why I'm banned for Easter Road. No, but you're right. Managers don't get to, particularly the old firm, Peter. Michael Beale was only in the door. He finished the previous season strongly. They got a bad start to the season. He was at the door. So in terms of Celtic and Rangers, you don't get time. You don't get time anywhere now, really. You're not getting, Lee Johnson, kept going on about, 4 or 5 windows time, we'll be where we want us to be. Well, you're not going to be there, Lee, unless this window you produce some players. So, for me, there's not a lot, you don't get a lot of time as a manager. And Philippe Clement, I think his honeymoon period's over. I think from last season, this season, I think I totally agree with Scott. The players that they've got went out the door, I think they're better players than the players they're bringing in. I think their Golson's, I wouldn't grade the Tavernier if I was Rangers. I think he's a terrific player. He produces goals, assists every season. He's irreplaceable right back for me. And Rangers fans some of them are wanting him out the door as well. So I'm not so sure that the guys that they're bringing in are going to be any better than the ones who went out.
Yeah, I took it in the neck last season for backing Tavernier because I've yet to see any right back who scores 130 goals.
I think the Tavernier thing is in the big games against Celtic, he has been at fault for a lot of goals. There's no getting away from that. And for Rangers fans, they're the biggest games, and a lot of the games have been, especially last year, was what was going to decide the title and who was going to get the momentum to go on and win the title. So yes, his goal scoring, his assists, it's incredible. But the wee nuggets in the big games, they do stick in people's heads.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Clement?
I was when he first came in, and then I think after the Ross County game away, the boy Jan Danda, who ended up at Hearts, who was excellent that day. I was looking at the Rangers team that day. Cantwell, that was the one game where I went, Cantwell was the guy that had to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and it just wasn't up to it that day. And after that, it went downhill. So we can only see what's going on in the pitch. You don't know the ins and outs behind the scenes, which it does have an impact on managers, but it's not an easy league opener for Rangers, that's for sure.
Talking about players that come and go, of course, quite a number of Rangers players have been paying tribute to Connor Golson. It was quite heartfelt from him, his farewell. Again, I think he did it with dignity. I just said it was a wrench, leaving. 6 years is a long time, lots of highs and lows along the way.
I think it was a great signing for Rangers, Peter. Connor Golson, he's a guy who, particularly in the COVID season when they won the league, thought he was outstanding. He played every game, every minute, every game. He was never present. I think maybe the last 6 months I've noticed a little, maybe a lack of pace, maybe lost a yard. And the way Rangers play with the two fullbacks bombing forward. When he first came in, he could get across, no problem. He could leave 2v2 or 2v1 at the back, and Connor Golson could get across and fill in. I noticed in the last 6 months he was just struggling to get there, maybe getting caught out a little bit, and that's maybe what Clement's seen and thought we need to get somebody in, maybe a little bit more mobile with more pace. But I think he was a great servant for Rangers for the money they paid. I think he's a terrific servant for Rangers.
Yeah, one of the other players who has decided to look to pastures new, 32 years of age, Ryan Jack. I caught up with him yesterday. He's going through a pre-season fitness campaign at the sports complex in Dubai, making sure that he's fit and ready for any manager that wants him. Of course, he did tell us in that extensive interview, you can see it on our YouTube channel, that there's more than a few offers north and south of the border, and if there's a manager or chairman, chief executive or sporting director looking, this is what Ryan Jack had to say about his fitness.
Look, I'm fit and ready, Peter. I've had a great camp. Obviously, it's not finished yet. I'm flying back on Sunday, and that'll take me to 2 weeks, a 2 weeks camp out here. I've came out by myself, training every morning in the heat, gym every afternoon. So, look, I've treated this as like my own pre-season, double sessions every day. So, look, I'm fit and ready, and if I get something that excites me, then I'll be all in to go and achieve something special with that club.
It's unusual sometimes. You'll know it yourself, Scott. Certainly Tam knows it from the 23 clubs that let him go. You have to look and you get that moment where you think, where am I going? And to go out there and just make sure you go to a sports complex where not a lot of people would have that opportunity before. Yep. But to go out there with the mindset, like, I've got to get myself fit. He's had injuries, to try and convince somebody I'm ready to hit the ground running if you sign me.
Yeah, well, I think Ryan Jack's valuable to any squad, obviously North and South. I think he's been so unfortunate with injuries. For me, when Ryan Jack was fit for Rangers, Rangers were a far better team when he's in that middle of the park. So yeah, obviously I think it's a big help the fact he went to the Euros as well. and Steve Clarke had that trust in him. Now it's just about getting the right club for him and getting someone to take a chance, because it is hard when you've got when people are looking at your injury history. But he seems to be good. He's out doing the right thing, so it just takes the right club and the right medical staff, which is an important thing as well. He keep you right, and listen, we know there's a player there.
Yeah, there's an extended interview, but also quite a number of clubs that he mentioned that he's been talking to. He's quite excited by. I said to him, "Look, I'm sticking a tenner on you with Derek at Kilmarnock." But if I was a Kilmarnock, if I was a Hearts or a Hibs, you know, if you had them, I don't know what sort of money he'd be looking for. Certainly not the money he was getting at Rangers, but if he was wanting to stay in Scotland, you know, at 32, what he's got to offer, I think he'd be a good signing.
Yeah, I don't think he's struggling for a club. I think he's just waiting for the right one. You know, you used to get that when you were out of contract. Why you not got a club yet? It's because it's not the right one that's come up. You know, I'm sure Ryan Jack could walk into a club tomorrow if he wanted. I'm sure there's plenty of teams that want him. But you're right, Kilmarnock's, Dundee United's team like that, Dundee, you know, I would think they would all take him. It all depends on what sort of money Ryan's looking for.
I think that's the most
that's
thing.
Yeah.
He'll be on obviously a really good wage that he was earning at Rangers.
How far is he prepared to drop?
And that will be the difference come what type of club you want to sign for. Wouldn't surprise me if there's teams abroad looking at teams like in the Polish league. There's lots of teams there who would be looking at somebody with his experience, especially with a lot of games in Europe for Rangers and played really well in Europe. So I think that's probably the main catalyst in terms of who he's going to go to.
Yeah, some fans actually.
Polish team, there's that wee maybe a wee nod, a wee bit inside info.
Every now and then, well, eventually, as you know, after we get 5 or 6 weeks out of a new signing, eventually has to step up to the plate. You know? It took yourself, Tam, 9 months, but eventually he did deliver. He did deliver something before he signed his column for the Daily Record. Anyway, apart from that, just on that point, a lot of fans, and here's the point we're talking about with Shankland. Keith says he has more worth to Hearts if he stays, and we get 5 to 6 million for getting into Europe again next year. Let's see if Rangers would still want him at 30. Time for the media to stop the usual nonsense. Well,
It seems to be the media that's driving it, Peter.
Sorry?
It seems to be the media that's driving it.
Well, not all of them.
Certain people seem to be driving the Shankland to Rangers thing, and I've never thought at any point that Rangers would cough the money up for him and Hearts would let him go.
Yeah, same here. I mean, he certainly didn't get it on this channel that he was one of those players, and I don't know where the Celtic story came from. I just think it's ridiculous. No disrespect to Lawrence Shankland. I think there's certain players that fit certain clubs along the way, and I don't see Celtic in any capacity looking at him, but he's got a brilliant situation, and this is where, you know, Ryan Jack will probably be looking at. What a lot of people don't understand, Scott, is, and you fit into this category, is you want to get the right deal financially, but it's not just about that, it's the right club. Do you think you can settle in the city? Are you taking your family with you?
Yeah.
All those things come into the equation.
Yeah, of course they do. I think the thing about the Scottish clubs, if you've got a Hearts, Hibs or a Rangers and Celtic, the both cities are really welcome if you do well. If you don't, it can be a tough environment. When you think of Lawrence Shankland, I know the media's driving it, but I do think if he in the SPFL, certainly if he's playing as a number 9 for him, he does score you goals. I know it's been driven, and I think that's probably what the fans are looking at, the goals, because he does score all type of goals. It's not he's just one sort of finish, all the one in the Edinburgh derby, volleys, headers, all sorts of goals at Celtic Park. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think if you look at it from a Hearts point of view, they don't want to lose him. The price they probably put on his head is because they know that Rangers won't pay that money.
Yeah,
and they've still got, because it ain't easy to replace a number 9.
If you were Lawrence Shankland, would you just sit there and think, "I'll just wait. What a great deal I can sign a year from now." Sets you up for life.
Yeah, but listen, I was in the same sort of situation. I didn't wait right enough. I left that window. The different situation was Hibs were in the Championship, and I think when you're a football player, you want to play at the highest level you can possibly get to. I think that's no matter what. I think Tam would agree that you want to test yourself against the best. If you asked Lawrence Shankland, would he think he'd be good enough to go and play in the Rangers team in domestically and in Europe? He would turn around and say absolutely. You know, so I don't know. It is a tough one. I think will he be sitting there going, see what happens in the year? Injuries can happen. bad form can happen, and then you know how the decisions in football now, things can change very, very quickly.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that maybe Rangers fans are looking at the signings that are coming in, and maybe the board are thinking, let's see if we can give them something to get them excited.
I think Shankland's the one for the fans. You know, I speak to a lot of Rangers fans, a lot of my pals are Rangers fans, and they'll think to themselves, if we get Shankland, it changes everything in terms of domestically. I'm not talking about Europe, domestically going into, because I think if Rangers would have signed Shankland in January I think they won the league, Peter. I think it was very tight until those games, Ross County, Dundee, Motherwell, the 3 games that the Rangers slipped up, and then the Old Firm game. It was neck and neck. Rangers were in front at one point and they just couldn't put teams away. 0-0 at Dundee. You know, Shankland maybe wins you that game. So
and there was probably about 30 odd crosses in the games.
Yep.
Yeah. The other big
nobody to score, nobody to put the ball in the net.
Yeah, the other big roll of the dice, which I think everybody's aware of, Celtic are in the group stages. Rangers have qualifiers. They've got Dynamo Kiev, which is not going to be easy, and by any manner of means. It's a big roll of the dice to a £60 million jackpot.
Is it a roll of the dice though because he's not got a sexy surname? That's the roll of the dice. As we've all seen him play, he scores all different types of goals.
No, but I'm talking overall strategy for Rangers is quite simply take Shankland out of the equation because of the situation they've made. There's 9 players, new faces come in. Maybe not that gold star or sprinkling of stardust that Rangers fans are wanting, but right now, with the squad Philippe Clement has at his disposal, it's a big roll of the dice right now because it's huge to get into those group stages. That's a huge drop between there and maybe playing group stage Europa League.
Yeah, it's obviously a huge drop, but that's like we go back to what a player wants. Players want to play in their games. That's the motivation for all the Rangers players. Surely the players that they're trying to attract to the club, the motivation will be we're trying to get Champions League group stages. That is what Rangers will be saying to these players. But there's not many came through the door where you're really fancy him yet. So it's a lot of mystery so far. So the Dynamo Kiev game, we all know, is not going to be easy. So I don't know. The Rangers one's very strange. You watch Celtic, you can see the players that they've got. They look as if they've stepped up another gear. They look like they're thinking about Europe, and they even added to the squad yet. And that's a scary thing.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers, again, Philippe Clement has to try and not only get a good squad together, but he's got to overcome the title-winning side, which is Brendan Rodgers Celtic. If anything, he has a squad that played some really good football and have impressive results in the pre-season friendlies, Tam. But I think if you were to talk to, and as we've discussed with talking to Rangers fans, now talking to Celtic fans, boy, they're waiting and thinking, what's the manager doing here? Couple of goalkeepers, no signings. It's a familiar story for Celtic.
Yeah, I don't think it's the manager they're looking at. I think it's the board. I think that Brendan's obviously met with the board at the start of the season and said, this is what I want. I want this, this, this and this. Go and get them for me. And then I'll work with the players that I've got just now. They've added a very, very good goalkeeper for me in Kasper Schmeichel. Very good goalkeeper. And the number 2, Gary Caldwell, had him at Exeter. Spoke to Gary, and Gary said he's excellent as well. Needs to work a wee bit in his footwork, but tremendous young goalkeeper as well. So they've signed 2 good goalkeepers. I think Bernardo will come in. I think that's dragging on. I think Idah will probably come in as well. I think that he's trying to force it now in Norwich to get out the door. But the closer it gets to the hockey's the 31st, the more tetchy, not only the fans, but I think Brendan will be, because Brendan will be thinking, we need 4 or 5 in.
You'd be very surprised though if they go into the Champions League.
Can't go in with the sort of squad they've got.
The same kind of players they need to rely on to play defence. If one guy gets injured, the same place. I know Liam Scales actually broke into the Celtic team last side for his performances in Europe, but they need somebody really strong to come in at the back alongside Carl Vickers for me. They
have done it though. They have done that before. The only thing I'm going to say to you, which I think, and I'm kind of reluctant to, get my shin pads and the studs on early with the whole of Scottish football. I'm trying to keep a kind of a balance on this. Celtic have got easily, within the next couple of months, could have 150 to 200 million pounds in the kitty. They're guaranteed 60 million already. They've already got 72 million in the bank. So you're now at 130. They'll get an add-on if Frimpong goes.
Yep.
So, and if Matt O'Reilly goes at 20 odd million, you're now heading up to 150, 170 million and then you've got the season tickets, and then you've got the merchandise deal, and the fans buy, buy the maddest gear you could ever think of. So suddenly you're looking at a club with a huge amount of money. Granted, Barrafield is there and they've built it and it's looking impressive. But that money, Brendan Rodgers will be looking and saying, listen, we're guaranteed group stage. Is there any chance of getting them in so that I can see them and gel them into the team? But the longer it goes nearer to the end of August, Celtic fans just get miffed because they think, seen this before.
Yeah, but it's not always down to the club. Maybe the players that they've identified, they have agents who maybe play it out a wee bit longer, known Celtic.
All of them?
A lot of them. So there's lots of factors into it. I think I know the Celtic fans sometimes have a lot to say about Peter Lawwell, but in terms of some of the business he has done over the last several seasons, it's incredible what they've spent and some of the players they've brought in and what they'll go for and what they have went for. So I think, it's dragging on, but there's still time there, and it seems to me they're trying to find the perfect player this time instead of maybe taking a gamble.
Yeah, Errol says, as much as I love Rangers being skint in Scotland, as much as I love Rangers being skint, he says, Scotland needs both Celtic and Rangers in the Champions League because of the coefficient. If they don't do well with changes, it might take 5 or 6 years to qualify again. It's not a bad point you make, Errol, although in my mind, I tend to look at the bigger picture. I want a Hearts in there, I want a Kilmarnock in there, I want a St Mirren in a group stage, just because I just feel as if 3, 5, 7, 9 million pounds changes the whole outlook for those clubs for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it does, Peter, and particularly for Kilmarnock and St Mirren. If they get into a group stage, 4 or 5 million pound to them is astronomical money. It is for Hearts as well, Aberdeen, Hibs, but they're richer clubs with bigger supports. So I think that obviously Kilmarnock will maybe speak about their game and St Mirren's game. I think they both get tough games. I think St Mirren you would probably fancy more than Kilmarnock. But you're right, and what that does is that, and if they get that 4 or 5 million, they can bring in better quality and they can start bridging the gap between them and the top two. Because it's boring at times watching Scottish football. We've been part of it for years, and Celtic, and Rangers miles ahead, 30 points clear of third, and the rest of the teams in a mini league. You want somebody eventually, a Hearts or an Aberdeen or a Hibs, to just go and try and put it up to Celtic Rangers again. Yeah,
absolutely. Lots to talk about European football, as Tam alluded to, next on the agenda after our news headlines.
Welcome to your daily news update, brought to you by Arnold Clark. I'm Patrick, and here's your top stories on the 31st of July. Rangers look set to replace Connor Goldson with Robin Propper. The 30-year-old is having a medical ahead of a move from FC 20, and former Rangers star Ryan Jack spoke exclusively to PLZ Soccer, saying numerous clubs have been in touch over a potential deal.
There's been a few, Peter. There's also been a few abroad, but as you know yourself in football, when nothing's in writing and nothing's concrete, then it's hard to tell, but there has been a few things out there.
And Kilmarnock have arrived in Belgium ahead of their second leg fixture in the Europa League qualifying. They will take on Cercle Brugge tomorrow night. And for Manchester United, it's an early blow for them, where their brand new centre-back Leny Yoro has already been seen leaving the stadium in crutches and a protective boot. That's all of your updates, brought to you live by Arnold Clark.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let me just give you a little insight, which happened last season, Scott. You probably wouldn't have been aware of it, but sometimes if there's a commercial break and then you come out of it and you're chatting, if you're saying something really interesting, you have to then tell everybody.
No, you can't.
No. I don't want you to tell that. But the reason I'm saying that is because Dundee did that last season and had to blatantly go out the show. And
I was talking about Ian Murray and Raith Rovers. I says that we lose and Paul Hanlon, big Nids, he's going to sign him for Raith Rovers, and it was live on the show, so it went all out all the place. And Ian Murray phoned me that night and went, No, you're all right.
No, you're okay.
Ian Murray phoned me and went, you big myth.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I just thought I'd tell you.
You need to be careful.
Yeah, be careful what you're doing. Keith says, why don't the media target Miovski instead of always picking Hearts and Shankland? Scored plenty in a poor Aberdeen side. Listen, you're absolutely right, Keith, because quite simply, there's lots of players that...
Did you have Miovski or Idah for 6 million?
Yeah, well,
like Idah.
I think you've got it. Idah's a really good player. The big dilemma last season was people were talking about, well, if they were sniffing Celtic and Rangers linked with Shankland or Miovski, and I just compared the two of them, and I thought Miovski had better movement. I thought Miovski was a better, more mobile player, scored a lot of goals in what I thought was a woeful Aberdeen side.
Yeah, I know, but I think if you look at Idah has showed in the pressure moments, which that's what you're judged on in the clubs. I think a penalty in the last minute to Hibs on his...
Scored 2, that's
yeah,
right.
2.
Have you ever thought about saying to yourself, the players are away on the plane, I'm not going to bother getting on it? That takes a bit of metal, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I think he's obviously experienced what it's like to be a club, obviously the size of Celtic, and obviously a fan base wanting you. So he's doing what he's probably been told to do from his agent, I'd imagine.
I love agents. Don't go on the plane. Just let us try and force it.
That's a bit ballsy, that. Not just not turning up for the plane.
Well, I was going to say that because Brendan Rodgers obviously has been talking about, players that are, some that have been on loan and some that potentially could be signing. Bernardo with a medical, Idah, he's saying he's still a Norwich player, but when you actually get to a situation where it's the standoff and the Norwich camp are not happy with his move, and I think he's been told to go over there to their camp and just sit in the sidelines.
Yeah, maybe be training with the kids and all that. They'll try and I don't know, not try and sicken them, but they'll try and make them stay at Norwich. But listen, it's up to Celtic to pony up the money. Celtic, we've seen this many times before. Great case with John McGinn, where you swither about paying the money and then somebody else swoops in at the last minute. Somebody might do that with Idah, Peter. It's not guaranteed he's going to sign with Celtic. I'm sure that there's clubs in England who have seen him last season at Celtic and thought, 21, 22-year-old, big mobile unit, left-sided, quick, powerful. Yeah. 6 million's a bit of a snip. So Celtic need to be careful. I know he's heavily linked to Celtic, but if Celtic don't pony the money up, whatever Norwich are looking for, somebody else might do it in the Championship.
Yeah, okay. Scott Allan here with us on the show every Wednesday, of course. Tam McManus, for the first time possibly in a long time, on a personal high, because played a wee bit of golf this afternoon and you were breaking all sorts of records, Tam. That's why you're in a high.
I did. I was 2 under after 10 holes and I'm at my 12 handicapper. So 2 under after 12 holes is like unthinkable for me. Yes. And then I bottled it the last 7 holes. I was 9 over the last 8 and I finished with a net 65. So best round of golf I've ever played. But I could have been better. I would get nervous the last 4 or 5 holes. Yep,
absolutely. Perhaps a real indication of Tam's football career as well. Just so much potential, and then eventually, when it came to the bit, he just crashed and burnt. Hello, to be fair, no wind, no rain, unbelievably sunny.
Good conditions.
For God's sake, doesn't get any better. Listen, I don't know what the weather conditions will be like for the European games, but boy, I hope Kilmarnock and St Mirren can steer their way into the next round of European football.
Yeah, I think we're obviously speaking about Rangers and Celtic previously, but the clubs outside the old firm, you want to see them do well. I think St Mirren probably sitting with the favourite to go through just now out of the Scottish teams, but I wouldn't count on Derek McInnes putting something together and going away and producing something.
Yeah, we had him in here in the studio last year, and I always feel as if when you get that longer period you can get to sit with him, I really rate him highly as a manager, and I've known him such a long time. He gives you a great insight into how the manager has to deal with putting a side together, and it was a great insight into him, because when he said he was a Killie boss when he got the job, it was just trying to keep Killie, trying to keep them in the division, and there was a real fear that they would go back down again. And now, last season he said, I was able to get players in that could play entertaining football, and suddenly you're starting to look higher up the league and look for a European finish.
Yeah, well, when you get the players in that he did last year, along with guys who'd been at the club for a long time and been very consistent for them, and then on top of that, you've got a manager with a wealth of experience. We all know the job he done with Aberdeen. He's went to Killie. I don't think anybody would have thought they'd have Killie in Europe maybe so quickly, but listen, that's what I mean. I think he could go up. He is. If you're asking one guy to take a side away, be resolute and nick a goal and then defend well, it'd be a Derek McInnes team. I've played against his teams for a long time, always difficult games, no inch kind of given. So listen, fingers crossed both teams go through.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of, and just only because they're old style centre forwards. I like Vassell because if you're a midfielder and you want somebody who you think that he talks about it all the time, if you want a target man who can hold it in and then bring everybody else into play, puts himself about, can score a goal. He's he's an old style centre forward.
Yeah, and I think he was carrying an injury last season. I heard, a couple of things, during pre-season. He wasn't 100% fit last year, and he's got a good pre-season under his belt. He caused them all sorts of problems in the first leg, and I'm not saying Kilmarnock are a long ball team, but they're direct, particularly at home. They get the ball in the box, make teams defend, and he's a handful. He can score goals, he can run in behind. I think he's been an excellent signing. He's now their captain, I think, as well. So he's the one that he's a talisman. He's the one you maybe think that can get the goal away from home. But I thought that they had some talented players up front. I don't think the surface suited them. It was a wee bit of an ice rink, the heavy rain on that pitch. And as I said the other day, that surface is older than Ruffy's Skechers. So
Yeah.
I think on a big grass park, I think it's a different game. I hope Kilmarnock get through, but I would quite fancy Bruce to maybe finish a job at home.
Yeah, well, we caught up with Killie legend, of course, former Chief Executive Davy McKinnon earlier today, just to get his thoughts on what the game plan might be from Derek McInnes. Of course, when you're talking about Cercle Brugge, they're not FC Bruges, but Cercle Brugge have one of their players, Kazim Olegbe, who's been basically talking up their chances, saying if we play to the best of our abilities, we'll knock Kelly out. And I think David McKinnon, like so many players, reckons that Derek McInnes will be putting that little piece of paper with the quote up in the dressing room.
A wee bit overconfident, because I see in the media he's gone out and said it's just a formality tomorrow night for his side to beat Kilmarnock. So Derek McInnes no doubt will be putting that out and putting it up in the notice boards in the dressing room, because that's a huge, believe me, when your opposition players say that sort of thing, it's a huge incentive for you to go out and beat them. So
you like all that psychological stuff as well, Tams. I mean, did Big Eck ever turn around and say to you, by the way, that centre-half reckons he's got you in his pocket? You go and show Bobo Baldo what it's all about.
No, but I think he's right, Davey. Scott will experience this as well. Managers love all that. It's a psychology thing.
Derek McInnes.
Have you?
Yeah.
You go tell us the story.
So, when was that season? I think it was Lenny's first season back in the SPFL with Hibs, and we were going up there, and it was the post-split fixtures, and somebody asked me in an interview, what do you think, blah, 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 and I think we're the better football team, and we're going there thinking we can win, and we walk into Pittodrie, and Lenny, who's a gaffer at the time, walks in first at something, then he starts going mental, he's done this, he's done that, and he put it back up, and well, that's what they think he is, he's trying to get in our games. Lenny hated that stuff, but that's just funny that the guy says that, because it was Derek McInnes. I had it pinned up on our changing room door when we were walking in, so it must have been in there. Lenny was foaming at the mouth for 30 minutes over it.
Yeah.
But we drew one each, so...
Did you ever get, do you get, if you make a comment like that, did you get what we call the classic cricket sledging? Did you get pelters in the park when you were playing?
No, because it's the comment, I hadn't said it in that way. I just felt that maybe at the time, our head-to-head, I think, with Aberdeen that season was better, and we kind of had our number a wee bit. But it was Lenny. It was probably sledging more than anybody else. It was as if Derek McInnes had wound up Neil Lennon more than he'd wound up the players. He just did not like that.
Yeah. Well, just out of curiosity, I mean, he's been able to regale to us on more than a few occasions players that he's had a noise up with. In the middle of the park, are there any particular players that you've played against that you just thought, they're in your ear, they're noising you up, they're trying to...
Stephen Naismith.
Yeah?
Stephen Naismith, probably most notable. Constantly, aye. The only person that I proper maybe took a bite to as well, to be honest. I used to just laugh, you know what I mean? I proper took a bite to Stephen Naismith. A very good player, but I think that was just a part
of Derby games?
Derby games, aye.
Yeah. No surprise, actually, that you're saying that, because I think it was not just in his last season for Hearts. Aberdeen came to Tynecastle, and the game kicked off, and I'm not kidding you, he refereed the game. he absolutely just went up to the referee and was saying, "Look at him, he's bang out of order. He should be getting a yellow card." And then he eventually galvanised his own team and picked fights with every Aberdeen player he could. And Hearts won 2-1, but it was down to him. He refereed it, and he absolutely bossed the game for them.
I think he's always been that type of player. He's always been that type of player that probably fans hate. You know, in terms of a Scott Brown, a Barry Ferguson, guys like that who opposition supporters hated. And I think that's a respect thing. You know, they realise that he's a threat, he's a good player, and he's causing their team's problems. But I thought it's no surprise that Nazy's the one that Scott used to try and wind him up.
Yeah, Kelly, we hope they can do it. I'm thinking it's. Listen, I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to stay in a good mood, and I'm going to say Kelly to nick it 1-0.
I hope so. I hope Kelly win it, but I thought they looked at spells that they've got some quality players in the forward area, so I'll go 2-1 to Brugge.
We'll go one each and they just sneak out.
Right, okay, on a kind of a penalty shootout then, yeah. Right, St Mirren against Valur. When we had Stephen Robinson in here, boy, I enjoyed that programme because he was, like Derek McInnes, absolutely top drawer, because we try and put across this football purists. You know, we want to see football played the right way, but boy, he gave us the custard pie, didn't he? Because quite simple, absolutely, because he said, yeah, we all want to play football the right way, but 3 games of 3 defeats at St Mirren and people want me sacked.
I know. Listen, we all sit and watch these games at the weekend in the Premiership, the Champions League, and you're probably sitting there as a coach sometimes going, let's go into training, we'll start doing that, and then you quickly realise we don't have the players that can do that. We need to get the best out of them, and we see that a lot, especially within Scottish football. But listen, whatever the recipe for St Mirren and Kilmarnock in terms of domestically, are they a bit more pragmatic than maybe say a Hibs would want to be, and what a Hibs fan base would want? Yes, they would be. But if it gets results and it gets you into Europe, it then gets your club more money, then you got to do what you got to do, and it keeps managers in jobs because it's winning football.
Well, I don't think I'm pushing the boar out to say that I think St Mirren can win tonight. 37 years the Saints fans have waited for a home European tie. They were over there in Iceland in great numbers, just celebrating the fact not only that they were playing in Europe, but hopefully getting a positive result. It's finally balanced at 0-0, and for 37 years, even the manager Stephen Robinson accepts it's been a long time coming.
There's no point downplaying it. It's been nearly 40 years in the making. So we want to go and embrace it. We want to go and enjoy it, not fear it. You know, as I say, the players have earned the right for this. They've earned the right to be in the tie. That was the important bit from the first leg. And you know, as I say, we're going to go and play our game. We're going to get the crowd behind us and take the game to Valur.
Well, I think they can win. You?
Yeah, I've seen the highlights of the first leg, and they should have scored 3 or 4, Peter. I think they were the better team. I thought they looked quite handy in the break at times as well, but I think Sigurdsson's missing for them, which is a huge blow. You know, I think he's their best player and their talisman. So, yeah, I think I packed St Mirren Park. You know, the excitement in that first game in 37 years. You know, the atmosphere. I think that will drive on St Mirren to win.
Yeah,
win the game.
Fingers crossed. Valur, I'm not dismissing Icelandic football because, you know, they have taken a few scalps along the way.
No, I fancy St Mirren. I think similar to what Tam says there, that'll be packed. The pitch is brilliant down at St Mirren Park. I think, there's a real positivity about St Mirren just now, and that is the game the fans have been waiting on. So yeah, I'm going to go St Mirren quite comfortably, to be fair.
Yep, okay, I'm with you in that camp, St Mirren to win that one. Give us your thoughts on not only Kilmarnock but St Mirren. What's your thoughts on their European adventure? Can they get to the next stage? It would be great if they could get to the group stages. That would be absolutely magnificent. Certainly want that to happen to Hearts as well. Rangers with a huge game coming up. We'll be covering Rangers against Dynamo Kiev and giving you the latest reaction. Of course, previewing it away from home, and of course we'll have our reporter there at Ibrox as well for the home game. A couple of things obviously that I want to draw to your attention before we get the lads' thoughts on the big kick-off, because Scott, obviously you on the Wednesday will get your thoughts on the runners and riders in the Scottish Premiership. But Motherwell have signed a player, £260,000 the fee.
What's his name?
His name is Apostolos Stamatelopoulos. And by the way, that's not a bad shout on it. That is exactly his name. So they've signed him. he's a player who obviously, it's a 3-year deal, and they're certainly looking forward to him scoring goals.
Yeah, well, he's got big boots to replace, and Theo Bear. I watched Motherwell Partick Thistle on Sunday, and I did feel they lacked a bit of cutting edge. They didn't really look much of a goal threat. I know Sam Nicholson's been out injured, and he is going to be probably their creative player this year, but you're hoping this guy can come in and kind of replicate what they've had with quite a few strikers over the years. Van Veen, go back to him as well, who kind of kept him in the league that season, so it's big shoes to fill.
Motherwell have always found a striker, Peter. You mentioned Van Veen there. Remember Michael Higdon? Yep. You know, Scott McDonald, Louis Moult. You know, they've always pulled a striker out for somewhere. Even John Sutton scored a lot of goals for them. So, yeah, he's coming from the other side of the world, Australia. It's a totally different style of play. If I've ever watched an Australian A-League game, it's a lot slower pace. They've paid a fee for him. He's an Australian international, so he's coming in with a decent pedigree. As I said, big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I just wonder about Motherwell, like Hibernian, how they're going to handle this kind of unrest in the background. There's been, you know, that possibility of a huge investor in Motherwell, and then eventually he stepped out of the melting pot because there seemed to be a fair bit of consternation from the Motherwell supporters group.
Yeah, I think that the offer that he was, the money he was talking was nowhere near, you know, a club of Motherwell's size. You know, I think they're a fan-run club. I think if Motherwell want to go to the next level in terms of challenging for third place and fourth place, they need investment. They need somebody like that to come in and put money in. But in terms of the percentage he was wanting, you know, for the club, it was nowhere near enough money. So I'm not surprised that the Motherwell board kind of chased him. Yeah.
Do you think that? I mean, I worry about Hibs at the moment. Scott, your old club is in a situation where you've got a new manager, inexperienced, but I've got a lot of time for David. But suddenly you've got Malky Mackay there as the sporting director. Then you've got the head of the Knights, who've got 25% stake. The Black Knights saying,
Will Foley.
You know, I wouldn't have been picking that manager or that sporting director.
I know, but I think it's hard for, especially investors off the bat, to understand the landscape of Scottish football. It is a lot different from what it is down south, no matter what anybody says. I've been both sides, I've seen it. I think, yes, David Gray's inexperienced in terms of leading the team, but he's not inexperienced in terms of what the going-ons have been at Hibs for the last 4 or 5 seasons. He's seen things that have worked, things that haven't worked. He's seen players who have come in and done well. We've seen players play well in certain positions. So, yes, inexperience in terms of as a manager, but a lot of experience in terms of the goings on at the club and the players that are at the club.
Yeah, I'd like to see a few more in though.
Yeah, and I think he's openly said they're looking to get a few in, but they still have. There's a lot of players there probably taking good wages who aren't even part of the match day squad. So until they get them out, it's going to be hard. But there's still some time to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much to everyone for showing your support over the course of last season. Over 100 million views, 240 million impressions for all of our content. So your support has been absolutely magnificent. This is the first week. We're back. There's lots more content. There'll be documentaries. There'll be so many programmes that you can choose to watch over the course of the season. We are live 4 o'clock. Monday, Wednesday, Friday with the football show. The Journals goes out at 4 o'clock on a Thursday. The women's football show will return. We'll have one-to-ones where I'll be interviewing celebrities, politicians, legends of football, past and present, on Straight Talk as well. And let's not forget, if you want the news at your fingertips, if you download the app, you'll have all our journalists out there covering the stories, the interviews, the press, and one-to-ones to look forward to. So there's so much to get your teeth into as far as the Scottish Premiership is concerned. And let's not forget as well, as Scott was alluding to, down south when the English Premier League starts, we always like to look at the multi-millionaires on offer in the English Premier League and marvel at their football, and then try and stay as positive as we possibly can about our own division, because although the football was not great last season across the division, Tam, boy did the fans come out in great numbers to support it.
Yeah, I mean, Scotland's football daft. It's your national sport, you know, and you know, it doesn't matter if it's a good game or a bad game. The supporters will come out every week, you know, and that was the notable thing for me last season, was that the attendances seemed to be up as well. A lot of supporters. I've seen Kilmarnock the other night, brilliant, full house. You know, St Mirren will be a full house tonight.
Sold out.
So it's, you know, if teams are doing well and they're in Europe and all that, your Kilmarnocks, your St Mirrens, you know, the fans will turn out, and that'll be the same as Hibs. You know, Hibs, the attendances have dropped at Hibs over the last couple of seasons because they've been poor. But if Hibs got on a run again and put 4 or 5 wins together and get into that, you know, top 2 or top 3, then the supporters will come back.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Of course, you know, we're not going to fudge it, and I think that's the great thing about the programme. On a regular basis, with all the pundits we have and our journalists and broadcasters, you know, we try not to let our eyes deceive us. And the football on offer last season wasn't great. I mean, I can remember being up on a cold Wednesday night at Pittodrie for Aberdeen versus Livingston. And I looked across and there was easily a 65-year-old Willie Miller there. And I thought, you know, if you go on now, you could actually win man of the match because it was dire.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Some of the pitches obviously at times don't help. I think there's a lot more, I would say, athletic players, so there maybe isn't as many technical players playing in the top league just now as we probably want to. Same with our own homegrown players in terms of young Scottish players as well. What we want to see, apart from maybe the Conor Barrons or Lennon Millers, who off their own bat have been really exciting players. So it's the same as you could turn on an English Premiership game on a Tuesday, Wednesday night as well. Sometimes it's not always worth watching, you know. So it's part of it. We get our good games, we get our bad games, but this year hopefully if a stronger Hibs, stronger Aberdeen, then that'll maybe add to a lot more better viewing.
I like to see a stronger Aberdeen. He wants to play a high press, Jimmy.
Gegen press.
Yeah?
The Gegen press.
Yes, absolutely. I cannot wait to see Aberdeen. If anything, I hope Dave Cormack shows a bit of steel and backing of that manager to let him have a run at it.
Yeah, well, I think when someone's coming from Scandinavia to then implement his style, he's going to need time. He's going to need to kind of assess the type of players got. But it's been really positive for Aberdeen. I think last year was as bad as it's been in a long time. I know you've got some of the players, and who was it? Junior Hoylett was obviously not signed. He actually turned out to be a very decent signing.
Hibs have been linked with him as well.
Yeah.
Exciting, done really well in the semi-final at Hampden as well. So I think I'm looking at Hibs, I'm looking at Aberdeen. I've played against Hibs and I've seen a lot of their games during pre-season. I think they will be stronger this year. I think Aberdeen no doubt will be stronger this year. So I think the fans have got a bit of expectation, but they need to be patient because, yes, like we spoke about with Dave Gray, first time in the hot seat at Easter Road, which it won't be easy. It comes with pressures in the same way the Aberdeen manager that's come in. So there needs to be patience as well.
Okay, we're going to give you. We're going to go easy on you. So, give me your top 3.
Top 3 in order.
Yeah.
Celtic, Rangers. I'll go with. I think I look at Hearts, and I know they've not had a great pre-season, but I like the sign of Jan Danda. I think he's a super player. He's someone I'd like to have seen Hibs maybe try to sign. I think he's got that wee bit something different, which, especially with Tynecastle behind you, he might just have his shoulders out and want to take the ball in they sort of big games, and I've seen him do it against Rangers as well. So that'll be my top 3.
Yeah. Who's getting relegated?
I'm going to go very early to say it.
We know that.
Just off the cuff.
Don't worry. You can do what Ruffy does. He changes when he sits in that chair.
Well, can I say a bottom 3, but in no particular order?
Yes.
I would Ross County, St Johnstone and Motherwell.
Right, there you are. That's not a...
Top 3 for me will be Celtic win the league, Rangers runners up, and I can't see by Hearts either. At this current time, Peter, I know Hibs have got... Listen, Hibs might go and sign 4 or 5 players between now and the end of the window, but I just think that you mentioned Danda, the boy Penrice as well. Yep. You know, Blair Spittle. They've signed 3 very good players for the Scottish Premier League. Their squad's strong, and I think they'll keep Shankland as well. So I think Hearts will be very hard to budge for 3rd. Relegated for me, St Johnstone or Dundee United.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay. We will get everybody's opinion. We'll get you actually to do 1 to 12 before we hit the start of the season as well. But nevertheless, all about opinions. You'll get them on the programme. You get a bit of fun, hopefully entertainment. And if you spread the word and hit the subscribe button, you'll be part of an ever-growing audience on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. So many people enjoying our content. And if you download the app, you'll have it at your fingertips. If you want, you can do catch-up on our football shows, on our one-to-one interviews. There isn't a broadcaster putting out out any more hours than we are on PLZ Soccer, I can ask you to take a look at them all. We are following Scottish football, and we're also bringing you English football, European, and of course all the global stuff too. It's all to look forward to this season. Hopefully you'll join us for the ride. Thanks to Scott Allan on a Wednesday, live 4 o'clock. Keep it in mind, you'll have something to delve into at 4 o'clock every day of the week. And thanks to Tam McManus, and from myself, Peter Martin. Don't forget, the Journals is out tomorrow, and on Friday, Ruffy will be here in the studio with me, Tam, and yet another new signing who won't be wearing a number 10. But who is he? Thanks for watching and listening.
Good day, mate.